Okay, so take the wheel off, and first thing you want to do is pull out this sensor. This sensor right here is the brake wear sensor, and this sensor pops out of the brake pad here, and you can pop it out of the caliper side of it as well, just so it's out of your way while you're trying to do this. A lot of times this thing is tucked up in underneath here. Tucked up in underneath here, and you gotta kind of untuck it with this. That's how I got it out here to start with. Gotta kind of untuck it and grab some needle nose pliers. So let's see how easy this is. So now that I have this sensor out of the pad, I'm going to go ahead and pull the other end of the sensor out of the caliper end. I already loosened that caliper end up a little bit, but that's the sensor. So now mine happens to be an 8mm. I think it's Torx, but an 8mm works. So I'm loosening this up. I'm going to take this sensor housing completely off of here. So that I'm going to hold it kind of back out the way over here like that. Okay. Alright, this is the side that does not have the sensor on, so it's the driver's side. There's no brake pad wear sensor on this side, so it's a little bit easier. You don't have to start out by disconnecting the sensor. So I'm going to take a little Torx, because it's all I have. I don't have a punch handy right now. It's this little Torx 10 screwdriver, and punch the tab. Tap the pin out up here at the top. Pretty much just about as far as I can get it to go. There we go. Now come down to the bottom one. Same thing. Maybe. Further out you can get it, the easier it's going to be. So let's see if the needle nose will get it. There we go. There's the pin. There we got it. Next step is to spread the pistons apart. So I'm just going to take a regular old screwdriver. Let me make sure there's something here. Yep. And start spreading these apart from one another. And I'm sure you can see it happening. One thing you want to do is make sure that you've taken the cap off of your brake fluid reservoir before you start spreading these apart. And actually, you may have to take some of it out, some of the fluid out, if the thing is too full, else it'll back the fluid out over the edge and you'll have a puddle. You can take a turkey baster and pull that out if you want. There we go. And it's just pushing the pistons back. Out of the way. And you see that little clip coming loose now, because it has enough room. So I like to put it back in there the same way it came out. So I've set it aside with the top facing towards the front of the car, so I can kick it accidentally later and not know which way it goes in. And get this completely back out of the way. Alright, now your pads come out. There they are. Hey, Sweet Pea. I'm changing the brakes on this car and making a YouTube tutorial at the same time. There we go. Not much left on that pad. So, set those aside. And we'll put some pads back in here. But first,
what are you talking to?
I'm talking to that camera right there. But first, we're going to put a little bit of this non-squeak stuff on the back side of these.
Oil?
It's not oil exactly.
Grease?
It's supposed to keep it from squeaking. Keeps your brakes from squeaking.
Like,
Yeah, exactly like that. So I just put 4 little dabs on there, right where the pistons meet with the back pad of the. I know you guys can't see this, but I'll show you here in a second. I'm just taking a little dab of this and spreading it onto the back pad of the back plate of the pads, so that they look like that. And now I'm going to put this in there. Bananas. Now I know you got to kind of work this this clip into place. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. Where'd that go? Oh, see, I didn't even kick it. So now this thing's gonna come back in, and you kind of got to work it into position. And I don't know, probably there's an easier way to do it, but I don't know what it is, so I just start pushing on it. I think I pull it out one a little bit, that helps. So now I got it down in there. Alrighty. Let's see what happens when we put the pins back in. See if we get any improvement in the positioning. Because normally the pin positions everything. There you see the pin go in front of it. That's what we want. Now I'll get the other pin. And I don't know how much of this you can see, but the pin is pecking right up against the edge of this clip. So pull the clip down below it. Alrighty, so I'm going to take, I think the key here is to press on the clip, and it lets the pin set back a little further, and let's see if we can get it. Yes, there. So yeah, it popped on through the hole in the brake pad. So, appears as if we have it all back together. I'm probably going to tap a little bit more on this top pin because it doesn't look like it's completely through. There we go. Alrighty. That's it. Put the wheel back on and we'll bed in the brakes. Okay, so now I had this little wiring harness here for the brake pad sensor tucked away back here out of the way. So now I'm going to take the new sensor, which you can see right here, and I'm going to, I'll show you that little Torx. That's an 8mm fits that, but in any case, this thing I'm going to install. So I push that all the way in there now. So now I've got the harness with the sensor. If you try to screw this harness back into the caliper before you install the new sensor, it's really tricky. There's not much space there, so I put the sensor into the harness first, and then I reinstall the harness into the caliper. There's a little bump inside here that is the actual thing that does the sensing. If it touches the brake pad or the rotor, it will sense. That's when your light goes off, so you want it facing towards the rotor. I got this little itty bitty screwdriver. I think you can see now that that went down into the spot where it's supposed to go. Maybe I'm going to turn this camera a little bit. Now I'm going to tuck this wire kind of up in underneath here like it was before we started. Okay, so that's got it all back together.